besties. You're currently watching The Vomitorium. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show!
Plane soaring through deep blue sky. Suddenly, you go insane from turmoil and grief, and despair turns your hair into beautifully colored gray. And then you die! And then we all die!
begin to face the end.
Congratulations.
You won.
watching The Vomitorium. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show!
Okay. Hey. Unless somebody else hops in, I guess I'll just make myself full screen. How you doing, everyone? Welcome to the Vomitorium. As always, I am your host, The Metal. And I would say joining me today is literally anyone else, but Marsupial has not shown up. Just a quick little leak in the DMs. I did clap in his ear like 100 times, and it didn't wake him up, so I'm afraid he's just dead. Sorry, Marsupial's dead. F's in the chat, everyone. It was nice knowing him. Man, I guess I'm holding the fort down by myself today. Sad to say, unless I can drag somebody else in here too. I don't know. Let me check. See if anybody else wants to come in. I want to be a substitute. Let's see Rick's on. And if we could pull a substitute, that would leave things a little more lively. Otherwise, I am fine doing this solo. Let's see if he responds. Probably won't. Looks like he's playing a game. Oh well, in the meantime, what we got to talk about today. Oh yeah, so more stupidity with Activision Blizzard, because this company can't seem to get any higher, I guess. Yeah, I thought they were at the bottom of where they could go, right? I thought, like, okay, this company's stupid, incompetent, malicious. They can't get much lower. It has to go up from here. They can only possibly do better things. But on top of making you have a month-by-month phone number to play Overwatch, which, I should probably change the info box here. More Activision. That's my name for them. Stupidity. Yeah, instead of just making you use a phone number to play Overwatch, yeah, you can come in if you want to pull up a seat. Yeah. Just gotta move your space. Okay, this can be pretty interesting. Let me let everybody here know. Never mind. We have a fill-in. A long fucking time. Yeah, it has been. Okay, they should be able to hear you, but I'm just making sure you're not on my foot's up cord. Well, there's multiple cords here. I'm just making sure. It looks like the actual Yeti cord is under your chair. Okay, got it.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna project some so that they could hear the gain, or I could just turn the gain up. That might help a little, because this is kind of like fine-tuned for just me. And sweet. I don't know if anybody's watching right now. For people who've been watching lately, this is my brother, Matt. He was one of the starting co-hosts of the show way back when we first started it. Yeah, and you were even here when we did the kind of like grand reboot or whatever. Yeah, the great reboot. Cool. Which is kind of like the Great Reset, I guess, but not horrible for society.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Our show might be horrible for society. Who knows? Yeah. So what I was talking about, I don't know if you saw this. So you saw how Blizzard was making you have a month-by-month phone plan.
No.
Yeah. So you had to have a phone number to play Overwatch 2.
Why?
for botting and Smurf accounts and stuff like that. They wanted to make sure it's one account per person, right?
Okay.
And because of that, they even said you can't have a voice over IP like a Google Voice number or any other service that does that, and it can't be a prepaid. It has to be a month-by-month phone number.
What the fuck? So what if you don't have a phone plan? You just can't play Overwatch?
Well, so at least for the time being, if you already owned a copy of the original Overwatch, you can, right? If you're a player in good standing. But eventually it's going to be forced upon everybody.
It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Well, it gets worse.
You can't even just play a game anymore. You gotta buy a fucking phone for it.
Yeah, and I get it because Overwatch 2 is free to play and they're trying to come up with...
oh, gotcha.
They're trying to come up with some way to stop people from smurfing, but I just think this is a way to alienate your customers more than actually solving that.
And what they already have? That's pretty funny.
Well, especially because unless you own the game, you don't get the original characters, right?
Wait. What do you mean if you don't own the game? If you don't own the original Overwatch?
So all the characters from the original Overwatch are in Overwatch 2, but if you don't own a copy of Overwatch 1 on your Battle.net account,
you can't use them.
You have to play like 100 in-game hours to unlock all of the original characters.
Oh, man.
And it's like the opposite of most like gacha games or whatever, where like always the newer characters, the better. Because they're the ones that are kind of locked behind a paywall, all of the original characters are kind of better than the new ones. Right?
So really, it doesn't even seem like the game is... I don't want to say done, but it's like the game is finished, but it's incomplete.
Yeah, pretty
There's
much.
so much wrong with that. There's just so much wrong with that. One, you shouldn't have to own the original game just to play the second one.
Oh, yeah,
That doesn't make sense.
Well,
Like,
you don't
why
technically have to.
Yeah, I get that, but you're missing half the cast by not doing that.
Yeah.
How's that fair for anybody? So you
Well,
gotta pay
they'll just be like, well, you can get it right away if you just buy.
Right, but it's
And
like you gotta pay
what's the cheapest,
$120
right?
for every character.
Yeah, like I think you actually don't though, because I don't think you have to own the full game to get all the characters. You just have to have a license. So you might only even have to pay as little as $20 to have an Overwatch 1 license for all of the other characters to be in your game.
The fact that you gotta, it's like DLC.
Yeah, it's $20 DLC.
It's like, I wouldn't even say DLC. What do you call something? Like, I get that it's DLC, but what do you call something that's brought in from the past that should have already been in it?
It is a DLC, right? Because it's shelved content,
it's not.
right?
Yeah,
because it's already in the game.
Right, yeah. If it was DLC, you would have to pay and download it. Like, this is stuff that's just behind a paywall.
Yeah, it's like they did that with old Mortal Kombat, right? When DLC started being a thing. I think it was Mortal Kombat 8,
I think
maybe?
we even talked about this
where
way long ago.
All the shit was already on the disc.
Right,
And you had to buy a license.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
so
like,
stupid.
I already own it all.
Right.
Yeah.
I paid for this.
And then in like future games, they started doing that. Well, because you have to download it anyway to play against the other people. So technically, like Smash Brothers, when the new character comes out, you have the character. Mm-hmm. You just can't use it because you have to have it in your system to play against it.
Yeah, the info's already on there.
Yeah. More understandable though.
But what's funny about this whole Overwatch situation is like, one, Blizzard's already doing terrible.
Yeah.
So this was probably a really bad call. Like, well, Activision Blizzard. I think Blizzard as a whole suffering, but like that was just a bad call overall. Like, why wouldn't you just make a normal game? If you're gonna make it free to play and you want people to play it knowing that everybody already has this stigma against Blizzard, I probably would have been like, hey, all the characters are free, by the way. Just for some sort of good gesture to your like fans that are still playing Overwatch, because there's still people who play it.
It's a very, very small community.
Yeah, definitely.
It's basically been dead for over a year.
Believe it or not, though, a lot of the kids where I work have been talking about Overwatch 2, which blew my mind because I, one, didn't know the game was out, and two, I thought like people stopped caring about that shit a long time ago. What's unfortunate is it's a good game as far as the way the game is set up and the way it plays, but nobody wants to play it because of Blizzard.
Yeah, and I think that's the bigger problem is less about the game, and it needs to be more of a sign of good faith from Blizzard itself to do anything. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is almost like a sign of bad faith.
Right, they're like, we're going to double down on all the mistakes.
Yeah, it's like, wait. I don't want you having my phone number, though. That's the bigger thing, because even if it's used as like a security thing, you still have the number, which means you can use it
I think
and sell it for anything.
Blizzard did something very similar to that in the past, too. Because I don't know if you know this, but I know Chris used to have one, and it's a little fucking like Tamagotchi looking thing that Blizzard used to make. That was a authenticator.
Oh yeah, your token.
Yeah. Why? You're the
So
only...
a lot of people used to have that. Yeah,
It's
I
for
remember
World of Warcraft.
Tony Egan.
Right,
had
so that
one,
like
too.
accounts couldn't get like hacked and stuff. But it's like, dude,
But that-
you're the only people in the entire world that has ever.
That
done
was
anything
also
like that.
before you could get like two-factor stuff on
okay,
your phone.
that
too,
makes
right?
sense then.
It was before smartphones.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. I'll take back what I said because
Yeah.
they were kind of the first really really big.
Yeah.
MOBA.
So it was either have that device which functioned like a beeper.
Yeah,
Right. It was
yeah, that's
effectively
what it
all it
looked like,
was.
yeah.
And
little
it
shiny,
used
nice
phone
beeper.
service like a beeper did too. So it was either you had that beeper authenticator, or they had to send you an SMS text message
every single time.
and that would be at normal SMS rates. So you'd have to pay for every authentication. So a lot of people
Yeah, you
rather
don't have
just
to do
pay
that
up
anymore.
front for the beeper. Yeah.
because like I do that a lot with my phone. Obviously, you know.
Yeah, but now you can just get like an Authy app too, or you can have a text message. You have one. of
Right,
the
yeah,
two
but the
options.
text message doesn't. If you have like a normal phone plan, like majority people, it doesn't charge you for that.
Yeah, or
You know?
most places, if it's just for authentication and not like your form of a social security number for, in this case, for Blizzard, right? Most people will let you use a voice over IP. So like Google Voice doesn't charge for the text message either when I need it for authentication or anything.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but so that was last week's news. This week, Activision Blizzard decided to double down yet
we're still
again,
going.
despite the backlash on it, like vocally over Twitter and stuff. They decided, hey, we're also going to make it to where you have to use this BattleNet phone authentication method to play Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, the
That's
newer
annoying.
versions of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Call of Duty guys aren't going to be very happy about that. You know, like people who play stuff like Overwatch, you know, they might be a little more willing to you know, be cool with that.
Well,
But
especially because like a lot of the Overwatch crowd, if you look at like the marketing, who they're marketing to, right? Especially they're marketing to younger people, to like Zoomers. They're marketing to people who are already pretty much putting their entire lives on the internet anyway. Gen Alpha is starting to be a lot more restrictive again, kind of like how we were growing up.
that's fair,
right? And usually it's because of other millennials, people who are our age but didn't grow up with the internet. It came like later in high school and stuff like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
For
we
them,
were.
we got on
around-
pretty early.
Yeah, we were around during the boom.
Yeah,
you know,
we
so-
used to go and find all those AOL discs just so we could
Yeah,
like create
yeah,
a new
exactly,
account and
yeah.
keep getting on.
I forgot about that shit. We would go
yeah.
to like fucking Minier, just take it off the wall.
Yeah,
They had that like slip of all the discs, and we would just take one and be like,
we,
"All
we,
right,
we
we're
were really on the ball for like get on the internet any way we possibly could.
Oh yeah, sitting across the street, using the neighbor's Wi-Fi with
Yeah.
your fucking Nintendo DS.
Oh yeah, or
Yeah, dude.
going to our dad's work just to be able to use it. Like we had to do some work and stuff, like
Right,
that, but
yeah,
it was
we
mostly
would
just
fight
to
over,
do
I
the,
want to go, and it was really just so we could use the internet.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Random shit.
that, and I wanted money.
Yeah, right.
Because I would actually get quite a bit of money. I did work. I cleaned like that whole fucking warehouse and shit like
definitely
that. Yeah.
changing out the trashes, breaking out
Yeah.
boxes and stuff.
But it was mostly for the internet.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the money was nice. It was nice.
But like, so a lot of people our age though really didn't grow up on the internet though. It came closer to, I would say, the mid to late aughts, like the Facebook era around like 2007 or 8ish.
Yeah,
maybe a little
2008,
before that, the
2009,
MySpace time. I
Oh,
think is
yeah,
about when it was. Even though nobody our age should have been on MySpace, you were supposed to be 18 or older to get
was
on,
on
but
MySpace.
everybody just lied about their age.
I still remember what my MySpace was. You would get on there.
I still have access to
My
it.
name was Full Metal, I think. It would play Lara Conceal.
Yeah.
Ready, Steady, Go. Oh no, my name was Butters.
Butters,
From
yes.
South Park, yeah, and it said something like "I like tacos" or some shit because that's what everybody said in 7th grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
good times.
You know what's funny too is because I go by the metal these days, but back in the day I didn't. But sometimes you kind of
Used
did
Full
because
Metal, yeah.
you were kind of obsessed with Full Metal Alchemist for a while.
When I was like in 5th or 6th grade, I was in that shit. Hell yeah, dude! I was like getting chalk and shit and going out in the front yard and fucking making the circles and stuff.
You even got yourself like a pocket watch at one point in time.
Yeah. Just because of that, I saw the pocket watch. I was like, I need to have this.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere. I don't know where, but it
doesn't even work. It's just kind of like more of a.
It could
memento.
work.
Yeah,
you just
can
need
get it fixed
batteries.
up.
Yeah, it just needs batteries. But yeah, it's somewhere. I know I have it.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I haven't seen it in a while.
But yeah, so they're even, so the mid, I would say, generations now, right? Younger millennial, so like our age, to older Zoomers are used to putting all of their information online and kind of just like giving it to people willy nilly. It's funny. They almost seem like boomers in that regard. Like when your grandparents first get on and they just give everybody their information.
Like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting scammed. No, I'm not. But it's the Call of Duty guys that are like our age.
Yeah,
a
so
little bit younger too.
Most of them are a little bit older than us. So they're like, a lot of them are older millennials.
There's a weird range.
Yeah.
There's a weird range.
But they also, even the ones who are our age, are the other ones who kind of grew up on the internet. Like they were playing Halo online very early. Some of them were playing like Quake and stuff like that too. So they were already using the internet.
Yeah, if you were playing Halo Combat Evolved on PC, you were already numb to the Call of Duty lobbies way before. Like way before anybody else was.
But like these are the type of people who still hide behind a username. Like you don't, other than like their username and maybe you'll hear their voice, you don't know like anything about these people, right? They're going to be a lot more apprehensive to giving their phone number out just to play a game.
Right. Like why would I give my phone number out to play a game? That's such a weird like
Oh, hello,
concept.
Keely Chow.
Hello, my friend.
Yeah. What's going on? We're talking about how stupid Activision Blizzard is
Blizzard.
In general, especially because they just made it to where Call of Duty players are going to have to do the same thing that Overwatch instated last week, or a little bit before that. And joining me today is my brother Matt, because he's off for like this whole week.
Chilling.
So he's back. He's actually one of my original co-hosts. And Marsupial passed out, I guess. I still haven't heard from him. I sent him like 100 clapping emojis, and he wears like a little wristwatch, like a smartwatch or whatever, that's hooked up to his phone. So it vibrates every single time you send him a text message. And a lot of times he even says like he just falls asleep on his arm. So that thing was probably going off in his ear every single time I clapped.
He was like jacking off or something, and like the clap was vibrating his hand. He's like, yeah, keep fucking sending me messages.
I highly doubt
No,
that.
yeah, I know. I don't even know that guy. But like, I don't want to assume that. It's just a funny concept. Like, what if he was just like, yeah, fucking do it again. Send me another one.
Yeah, but since Matt's off, and I kind of needed somebody to tag in last minute, he just pulled up his, I guess we call this a camping chair.
Yeah, lawn chair.
Lawn chair,
not really
camping
lawn
chair.
But something like that.
Like a director's chair
you
type
can
thing. He just
kinda-
pulled up a,
Can't really see the pole.
yeah, like a tailgating chair, and is just sitting here in the corner.
Behind one of my Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Whichever one it is.
That's Tempest right behind you. There's Pac-Man, or Miss Pac-Man, and then there's Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah, it would look a lot cooler if they, like for the podcast, you should just flip them, just turn them around.
It was that'd be a lot of effort because I'd have to flip them back around.
Yeah,
afterwards.
but how cool would this shit look right here?
Yeah,
It
that's
would
true.
look pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
So I'm chilling. But you know, it
Also,
doesn't.
hello, Chad, as well.
What's up? Oh, what's up?
I was just saying hi to people in chat. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more people in chat than I'm used to. There was like, we would get like one dude that would come in over and over.
It depends. Dude, there were times. Originally, this wasn't even on the Vomitorium Twitch. I made like a new Twitch just for the Vomitorium when we came back. Originally, we streamed on this YouTube channel. It was the same YouTube channel, but it was mostly Twitch viewers. And they were all coming into the 12.2 TMTV channel. That's the one that we streamed.
Yeah, I don't remember. I would just talk.
Yeah. And
I would talk and look at the camera.
we would sometimes get like I think the most we ever had was 20 people in the chat. So it'd be anywhere between like one regular up to 20.
Yeah, I
people.
just remember that one guy. I forgot his name, but he would just show up randomly.
And they were like we took a hiatus for 3 or 4 months right after like Eno left.
Yeah.
And then when we came back, very first episode he was back in the chat
yeah.
like, hey, I missed you guys. Like,
Okay, don't know who
kind
you
of
are,
regret
Ross.
not using the same channel because I feel like there's some of the regulars that might have come back.
We
but-
even actually started hanging out with somebody because they were one of our friends who was watching the Vomitorium. You remember Joseph? He would just watch and he'd be like, hey, what's up, guys? And then we just start hanging out.
Yeah.
And then we stopped. Yeah. So anyway, what we were talking about, going back to Activision and Blizzard.
Yeah, Activision, as I like to call it.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I know that Activision doesn't do Guitar Hero and Rock Band and stuff anymore because they, I think it was given to Neversoft. Oh no, Activision did Rock Band, right? They switched to Rock Band, I think.
No, those are two different Guitar Hero and Rock Band were never under the same company. They were different AAA companies.
Yeah. But I thought that they'd split or something. I don't know. But
they did Guitar Hero originally.
Activision used to do Guitar Hero, and then Neversoft picked it up. I could imagine Activision trying to bring that concept back and making you pay for every fucking song.
They tried. You don't remember?
No.
So they didn't even come back with the controllers. It was back in. We talked about it. It was 2015 or whatever.
That's right.
They made a mobile version of Rock.
No.
Hero.
Okay, I was thinking of that other one that came out where it was not Rocksmith, but there was another thing that came out after that was really stupid. It didn't take off.
Well, Rock Band was the last one that I think it was 2018. They made something. It didn't really take off. You never even hear about it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
But there was a phone Guitar Hero at one point in time. We talked about it on the original version of the show. And they were trying to it is technically free to play. You tap the screen.
That's
right?
stupid.
It was very
You got to
stupid.
pay for every song.
And yeah, basically, there was some songs were free. You had to buy $1 like you would on any music service. And it's listen, I'm going to pay for a song individually. I want to actually own and listen to the song. I don't want to just be playing Guitar Hero with it.
And going back and thinking about it too, the Guitar Hero games really took a turn for the better, I guess you could say.
You had the DS Guitar Hero. I loved the DS Guitar
The
Hero.
DS one was good, yeah.
It was very innovative because they could use the GBA slot for the controller and then you strummed on the screen.
Yeah, and there was actually one song on the DS version. It's I don't want to say it was the last song you played because I think the last song you played was We Are the Champions or something. But I think Sweet Home Alabama at the very end of that song made you hit all 4 buttons down, and it was the only song that made you do that on the DS version, and you had to strum over and over while hitting all 4 buttons down, and for some reason, I don't know if it was my DS or the game or whatever, when you held all 4 buttons down, it didn't want to pick up every strum you would do, and so the only way to beat that fucking song for me on Expert was I had to save my special till I got to that point because it just wouldn't pick up every strum.
Yeah.
I was like, this is stupid.
The DS wasn't that powerful of a system because of how many button inputs it was interpreting. You were probably overloading
it was just I can't do it,
input mechanism of the system.
And it was only that part of that song that you
because it's 4 buttons plus the screen. Most games, you'd be lucky if you even had 4 inputs at a time, right? Even for shooters, you might be moving while either using a button or the stream for movement, and then you'd be using one of the triggers.
That concept of having the little fucking gauntlet thing where you put on and hit the buttons on it was actually a really smooth concept that they could take and put onto phones or iPads and stuff.
I feel like they missed the mark though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is
because of the shape of it. Right?
Well, the ship is gone and sailed anyway.
I know, but the shape of it.
It was the problem was the touchscreen on the DS.
They could have made
it wasn't accurate.
A hurdy-gurdy hero or an accordion hero.
Okay.
Right, because the shape of it too, it's more like an accordion, and that would have been funny.
Right, because it's looking at your phone, how do you, where do you put it on the bottom, and then you.
Yeah, think about
play
it.
Like this.
Accordion Hero, where half the songs are just Weird Al.
They would have to be on the side. I don't know, like that. Nah, it just wouldn't. It wouldn't fit. And then there's so many different phone sizes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a nightmare to try and make.
Yeah. I hate Activision.
Yeah, I was about to pull it back into that and say fuck Activision, but
Well, so Microsoft just bought them recently, right? Yeah. They're still struggling for it to go through, but it's basically gone through.
Yeah.
And everything except for the legal paper.
Yeah, people treat it like it's happened.
There's some court cases, antitrust things, even going to the EU. Some of their competitors literally opened up cases in the EU just to slow down this acquisition, which is funny as fuck. But they're basically it's happening whether people want it to or not, and I'm wondering like why. Right? It's not even just greed. Like, what does it actually do for either of the companies to do this? And here, even a quote too, because it doesn't look like the purchase is actually helping Microsoft, even in regards of like competition. So, I think it was it Spencer that came out recently? Who was it? It was one of the Microsoft executives. But they basically said that even if every single Call of Duty player that's like on PlayStation or whatever moved over to Xbox, PlayStation would still be significantly larger in player base than Xbox.
And I wouldn't even say at this point, because it's been like 2 years, that it's because of the systems are so fucking hard to get.
Because PlayStation's still harder to get.
And we're still, exactly. It's still harder to get, and we're also counting the PS4 as well.
Yeah.
But, like, I get that. I don't, like, everybody I talk to, especially at work, I have to use work as an example because it's the only fucking place I go. But, most people talk about PlayStation. Like, no, I mean, there are people that talk about Xbox, but hardly anybody does, and then really nobody, except for me and, like, one other person, talks about Nintendo.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of weird. I think maybe it might actually be working for Sony finally, that they're investing in so many first-party titles now. Like they've been buying out first-party studios to make PlayStation titles and not just games that are on PlayStation. Which might also be why Microsoft is buying out all these places, because they see it working for Sony. But Sony's buying smaller studios and building them up, right? Aside from a few that they used to work with, like way back in the day. They worked with, I think, Toys for Bob, and I think they're trying to get that from Activision. Though I don't think Activision's going to let down. I think Microsoft's going to end up.
Toys for Bob is.
Toys for Bob does Skylanders, and it also did the reboots for like Crash Bandicoot and.
Okay, I didn't know those were on the same like team.
Yeah. I don't think. I think that deal actually fell through because Microsoft bought that. So I think Toys for Bob is going to be with Microsoft. But like they're trying to get all of these different companies, but for the most part they're working on smaller companies that they can build upwards to make bigger, while Microsoft is going around and buying these already large companies like Activision or
smart.
Bethesda and stuff like that, which also brings them into possible court cases for antitrust and stuff. I actually think PlayStation is playing the smarter game here. But historically, before the recent generation, at least in the United States, Xbox has outperformed PlayStation. That doesn't mean that globally.
You're talking about in the past, like when the 360. And,
Okay. That doesn't mean globally they did. Right. In fact, PlayStation's always outperformed Xbox globally, and that's the thing that a lot of people need to realize. One of the biggest console blocks is the EU. Right, and we don't know exactly how many gamers in general are in each like region, but you could take a guess that in any region civilized enough that people can afford to get consoles and have access to them, then the amount of gamers are probably going to be proportionate to the population of that system, right? So the United States only has just shy of 400 million people. And that is most of the North American block. You have some Canada, which is 70. I think there's like 30 million in Mexico. So together, we're a little over 400 million, right? But then you jump over.
America.
Yeah, so that's the North America block, pretty much right there, right? Is shy of 500 million. We're closer to like halfway through 400, right? But then you go look at the EU population.
Oh, way higher.
Is 750 to 800 million. We don't know the exact numbers. It's grown some since the last. Almost, yeah. It's almost double. And EU has always favored PlayStation. And part of that is because after Sega died, that was the console that they had access to. Because up until, I think, the era of the Wii, you were unreliable at being able to get Nintendo stuff in Europe.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Like,
could you imagine,
but,
trying to go find Nintendo games and you're just on a search for it and all you can find is fucking PlayStation?
Well, think about, like, Final Fantasy VII was the first main series Final Fantasy game in Europe.
Jesus, I didn't know that.
The first Final Fantasy game, sadly, was Mystic Quest.
So they missed out on all the good shit.
Yeah.
Man. Well,
It's also why, like, you remember there was a remake for everything except for 3. on the PlayStation.
That makes sense.
Part of that was because a lot of
Yeah.
people in the world didn't have access to
That makes a lot
yeah.
of sense. That's funny too. And something I was gonna bring up is like, I think with all this Xbox and PlayStation, I think people have become like afraid to admit themselves as Nintendo fans.
Oh,
Like,
yeah?
Yeah. Like people I work with, like if I bring up Nintendo, they're like, "Fucking Nintendo, what the hell?"
Well, you also work with a lot of younger people.
True,
right?
yeah.
And it's kind of always been the case, if you remember, we weren't like this, but a lot of our friends, or I wouldn't even say friends, our peers in high school, there's a certain age group where like late middle school up until like early college where it just seems childish to like Nintendo.
Yeah,
so you don't want,
it's weird. It's weird.
It's like you've seen the memes for like the Pokemon fan, where like in kindergarten and elementary school everyone likes Pokemon. Then like middle school and high school, it's like, you like Pokemon, nerd? And then
Right.
college, everybody's playing
yeah,
Pokemon again.
and now
yeah.
adults like Pokemon too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like nobody wants to be a Nintendo fan, and it's very like it's hard not to use my own bias because I grew up playing
Yeah.
it. But like I personally feel like people's biggest argument with Nintendo is that they're all like cartoonish and like they don't look realistic and they're all like childish.
Which to me is
games.
like the biggest benefit to Nintendo.
And that's what I was gonna say is, for me personally, when I look for a video game, I like that shit. I like my games to be way disconnected from reality.
Well, so like, we're on the verge where what I'm about to say is not going to matter anymore. But up until that point, all CG graphics that aren't stylized look uncanny, right?
Yeah,
now, they don't in the moment, right? Because it's
Right.
new and it looks more real than the last one,
But
and that's what
still.
catches it up. But then, one generation later, and it already looks dated, and people are like, "Oh man, can you believe that we liked that back then?" It's like, yes,
Here's
I
a
can
good
believe that you
example.
liked
Don't
that
play
back
the
then.
remastered version.
Yeah.
Go back and play the actual PS3 version, or maybe it was PS4. I could be wrong. Whichever console it came out. The Last of Us.
Oh yeah.
The game was a 10 out of 10, or it was perceived to be a 10 out of 10 when it came out.
Visually dated if you play the original.
Yeah, if you go back and look at it, you're like, ooh. I mean, the story's great.
Yeah.
The story still holds up awesome, but like the graphics are like, oh wow, that didn't hold up as much as I wanted it to.
Yeah. While PlayStation 2 game that is a bit more stylized but in realistic proportions, Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Actually,
So
still looks
the
pretty
actual
good.
models when you're playing the game, they look like they're PS2 models.
Yeah.
But the pre-rendered scenes still look good. They look like adventure.
Yeah, but also they're not.
but they're stylized.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
look like
Even
3D anime.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
like that scene at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's like the graphics got astronomically better than the rest of the game was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they weren't trying to make the character look realistic. They were just trying to make him look more polished than the rest of the game.
And to me, like in the modern era, one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen was Super Mario Odyssey. Highly
Yeah,
stylized
yeah.
game.
And it's very smooth.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean in the way that it plays. I mean like the way everything is rendered. Like the actual models themselves. I could talk about Odyssey a lot. I love that game. But the models themselves, everything is really smooth in that game. The way you even like the way Mario runs on the screen visually compared to you controlling
Yeah.
it looks really smooth too. And like the way he runs and the way you control him, I don't know. They did a good job with the graphics on that one for sure. I think so. Same with Breath of the Wild. They didn't try to make everything look. They tried to make it look more realistic than Zelda previously did, but also making sure that art style of like that mix between Twilight Princess and Wind Waker didn't really fall apart with like the rendering of like, you know how what's that one that everybody fucking hated, Skyward Sword?
Oh,
Where,
yeah.
like, it would be blurry far away from you.
Yeah, the way that.
But it
depth
was like
feels.
like oil painting kind
Yeah.
of blur. They sort of like polished that more without having that blur in Breath of the Wild and made things look a little bit more realistic, but also keeping that that like stylized look.
Oh hey, look, Marsupial's awake. Maybe.
It's okay. I'm in it for the first show.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't be in.
No, I mean if he hops in, whatever, you stick around as long as you want.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you won't. I did say, never mind. It's cool that you hopped in. I made sure to text him. He didn't respond. To
He
me.
may want a day off anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's in the show every like twice a week. So.
Yeah. We
But
talked about me being on it for a while, and I just haven't hopped in, so I might as well.
Yeah. You know though, what game looks really dated despite being stylized?
What's that?
And the remaster really did help. Twilight Princess. Go back and play the Wii or GameCube version.
I remember
of
how it
Twilight
looks.
Princess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just how graphics are, though. Things get better. There are some games, though, that, it hurts to go back and look at them, even though we played them so much. Like, a good example is Vice City.
Yeah.
San Andreas is a good example, too. San Andreas, everybody's really blocky and shit. And, don't get me started on fucking Nintendo 64 games. Like, there was Nintendo 64 games where they tried to make the characters look realistic as much as they could on an N64.
Oh, like GoldenEye?
Like GoldenEye, and it was
Yeah.
like, although GoldenEye was an awesome game, it was just like the characters looked weird.
Oh no, GoldenEye looks like trash.
Yeah,
It
dude.
plays well, it looks like trash.
Right.
But like, you go back, almost every single SNES game holds up graphically.
I know, we were talking about Super Mario Brothers 3 the other day, and it's like, yeah, sure, it's all pixelized.
But that's
and stuff.
regular NES too.
Oh, you said Super NES.
Yeah.
Yeah, Super NES.
Well, there, I will say that because like there are NES games that look ugly, and it's not that they had to. It was very early and people didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah, there are some Super NES though where there are some really stylized faces that you get in certain games. Like, what's a good example? I know there's been games where you'll have a whole screen face, and it looks pretty well. I just got to think of one for an example. I know Link to the Past had the kind of mugshot of Ganon that wasn't too bad either. That was they fit a lot on the screen. That was pretty nice, but they had a lot more to work with too. So it was when you would play Animal Crossing on the DS and stuff, and you would make those little pixelized.
Oh yeah.
That was all 8-bit, right?
Well, I mean, it depends. I would say it has to be because they gave you access to a 16.
Oh, that's right.
Color palette.
Yeah, but
technically. Yeah.
maybe 16.
Yeah.
16-bit at max, not 32 though. Which is what the
Well, so that's just what you would call it. So, bit is a processing thing, right?
Right.
And when they got better processors, you could put more colors in a palette without it eating up more processing.
Let's see if I can
and
find
RAM
an
and stuff, right?
example. I think that the Illusion of Gaia had one. I'm gonna look something up. So, yes.
So that's the real thing. Is just when you have more processing, you can just have a wider array of color palettes. You could also, as processing gets higher and you get more RAM, you can unrestrict your color palette, right? So you can make something look like it did back in the 16-bit day, but you don't have to only have 8 colors per unit. Because usually you work with half of the colors of whatever your processing rate is. And the reason for that is so that you can share palettes, right? So a whole palette will have 8 different colors on it, which will typically, it'll be 6 colors plus black and white, and black will usually be the key color, or you'll pick a key color. But you won't want to use all of your colors in a single sprite.
I'm scrolling through screenshots of all the NES games, and some of them are really obvious on which ones had way better fucking graphics than the other ones. That to the point where you're actually that was done pretty well, and it hit me as soon as I started looking. Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
the Donkey Kong games.
Well, that's because they were JPEGs.
Ah,
Right,
okay,
they
that
actually
makes
made
sense.
3D models of the characters, and then they took each frame that they needed. So obviously it wasn't all of them. Maybe it'll be 4 frames per motion or whatever for the running, and then they would basically flatten the model into a JPEG.
That makes sense on why they look so different from every other.
Yeah, so that
kind
it's
of game.
basically similar to how Mortal Kombat was made, but without live actors that were the photos.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. There are some other good examples that I could use, Super Metroid. Some of the things that you we could Kraid, for instance. He was huge and he was just well made. I was gonna say Mario Kart, but
Yeah.
but yeah, Earthworm Jim had some cool stuff in it too. It's just I don't know. It went from game to game.
Well, I think limitations are what allowed the creativity of style, right?
Right.
Because usually stylization comes from limitation.
Yeah, that's true too. Because if you look at two different Rare games on the N64, one without the expansion pack and one with it, you can see the difference in graphics too. Like if you look at, well, I was gonna say Jet Force Gemini, but it's a little newer. If you look at Banjo-Kazooie, in how smooth it was compared to Donkey Kong with the expansion pack.
So we've talked about this many times too, and Mars is usually the one that brings it up. Donkey Kong only needed the memory pack because there was a memory leak in the game.
Oh, that's right. We
pack,
talked about this in the past.
But Perfect Dark, on
Perfect
the other
Dark,
hand,
yeah.
actually needed it for the visuals.
But what's funny though is I didn't think, maybe
Yeah.
I'm a little biased on this, but I don't think Perfect Dark looked that great compared to Donkey Kong. I think Donkey Kong looked better. Maybe the game was a little bit smoother.
The environments looked, that was the bigger
Yeah,
thing.
but like the people and the guns themselves, I don't think looked all that great.
Yeah. Chad had a good question though a while back, and I saw that while scrolling. It's not on my.
Did you see the what? The Canned Kingdom?
The Kingdom Hearts. There was like an anime or whatever, an animated series that was going to be in 2003 that got canned.
Yes, so I didn't hear about that, which is weird because didn't Kingdom Hearts come out before? I mean, after 2003? Didn't Kingdom Hearts come out like 2004 or 5?
I don't think so. I think it came out before Final Fantasy X.
Because Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2005 or 6. So let me see. Let's see. But what's funny about that is around that time period there is a Kingdom Hearts manga. that came out.
Well, there's a Kingdom Hearts manga now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is it's funny. So the Kingdom Hearts manga has
2002.
Okay, yeah.
March 28, 2002. Yes.
Yeah, because it came out just before
Yeah.
Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. Oops. Maybe I was thinking about. I don't know how much time had come out between Chain of Memories and the second one.
So, the Kingdom Hearts manga has more information in it about the Kingdom Hearts world than the games do.
Of course.
Right?
But they don't even know. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing when they were writing that story. They just keep adding
Kinda,
shit
sort
to
of.
it.
So, Tetsuya Nomura had a roadmap. Like, he actually had a plan of what he was going to do. Some things had to be changed because of Disney and stuff like that. So some of it was like him trying to figure out how to do it at the time.
The writer
Yeah.
to Kingdom Hearts is the Japanese equivalent to J.K. Rowling, as far as changing and squeezing shit in.
I don't think so. Because a lot of Rowling
Well, they don't change shit.
stuff
but
was
she actually changes.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, that was not a
for,
good, not a good example.
for like appeasement of the public.
That was me
right?
trying to relate something.
Yeah, no, Nomura. It was more of him trying to go back and do things he wanted to do.
Yeah,
already,
and then,
couldn't.
well, yeah, and I think also too, a lot of his was, now that I'm like thinking about it, was trying not to change things, but to add stuff in to explain things that weren't explained that
Yeah,
well.
because his storytelling is like a flower blooming. It's an expanded, right? So
Okay.
you need to play them in the order they came out because that's the order that the story.
Yeah,
expands,
right. And it's even though like you can't play Birth by Sleep first, you have to play Kingdom Hearts 2 before
Yeah.
Birth by Sleep in order to understand.
And the manga takes place in the same order as the games came out. But they're
that's
actually
easy
not
to
based
understand.
off on the manga. The manga's based off of the light novels that are based off the game. So what Nomura did was he wrote some light novels which has illustrations in it. Because if you've ever seen a light novel, it's basically like a pulp, but sometimes it'll actually have comic panels
Yeah,
and it'll be
yeah.
bunch of writing, images. Bunch of writing, images, right? It'll be like page after page. And those were kind of like the expanded storytelling way of like, I couldn't tell the story this way in the game. Here's the way I want to tell the story. And then they adapted a manga from the light
See,
novel.
I like that they did that because I personally want to see a lot of stories be written down. And I
Yeah.
know it's a really, really geeky, nerdy thing that I personally want that many people may not want. But I want to see my favorite TV shows transcribed into book format. Like, I want to see The Walking Dead. I know there is Walking Dead books, but I want to see from the beginning to the end written in written format so I can just read it whenever I want rather than just having to watch it. Or like any show, for instance, that you like. I know Game of Thrones. I think they're doing something like that. I'm not sure. But it was
Well, to be fair, Game of Thrones, while there are a lot of substantial changes, are a lot closer to the source material.
Yeah.
and
Oh, I was just trying to find examples of people stories that people would want.
If they
written
did
down.
novelize the show, it'd probably be the closest thing to actually seeing an end of the novels that you're gonna get.
No, really.
Because I doubt Martin's actually going to finish
the first
series.
2 books are like, we don't know if we classify this as porn, but it might be smut, I guess. But like,
There's a lot of sex in the book. Not as much in the first season of the show.
Sex
but
sells on TV.
Yeah.
So. But like, there's just certain stories I would like to see put into written format. And no, all jokes aside, this is gonna sound like a joke. The story I would love to see the most, of all time, put into a book format, is the story of Christian. I would love to read that, but you need video for. Unfortunately, you need the video. Oh, I know, it's torture. You shouldn't have to put yourself through it. But if you find it fascinating, I would think it'd be an interesting book. But unfortunately, because of the way his life is, and it's all been video documented, you can't really, you could, but it's it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's definitely one I'll pass on.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I'm not gonna.
I'm sure somebody is though, because there's people writing everything. Yeah, Joshua Hughes, glorious leader of the Cult of Raven, says the Kingdom Hearts anime characters with American art style faces look cursed. I agree. That was actually the bigger thing. It wasn't going to be an actual anime.
Oh, okay. So this doesn't actually happen. This is just him saying it would be cursed. I was like,
no,
dude.
looked cursed because there was some stills.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah.
That sounds cursed, man. Oh no. It's like, I was explaining to one of my friends yesterday because I'm trying to pick up a new art style. I'm trying to pick up a more stylized Disney.
Yeah.
Old school Disney kind of cartoon style. But I was telling him yesterday how it would be weird to mix the anime style with the American superhero X-Men, Spider-Man kind of.
It depends how you do it, right? Because
there was a show that did in the past. I don't know if you remember.
There's a few.
The Nickelodeon show. The kid goes to Japan.
Oh, you're talking about Kappa Mikey?
Yeah.
I was talking about that with somebody recently. Was that Nickelodeon?
It was Nick.
Oh, okay.
Nicktoons.
It was one of those.
Nicktoons.
Yeah.
It was Nickelodeon.
I remember the show. I just didn't remember.
It was on Nicktoon.
But there's a lot of inspiration. I mean, it depends on the era too.
Does that.
Thundercats was heavily.
Okay, yeah. That's.
I mean,
I don't know. I just think it's. I don't know. I didn't mean molding them together. More of putting an anime character in that world kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you could. But also.
I don't know.
One of the most popular adaptations of a Western superhero in Japan. In the 70s, there was a manga run of Spider-Man that was done by a Japanese artist for
70s?
a Japanese audience. I think it was the 70s. But it's,
I'm sure,
yeah, it's a Spider-Man manga. It looks really good because it was just Spider-Man story done by a Japanese mangaka.
Japanese Spider-Man. I'm just gonna put 70s and we'll see what happens. Oh my god! And there was a live action.
Yeah.
He looks like a fucking Power Ranger. Look at this. I have to look at this.
Oh yeah.
Look, he looks. I don't even know where to show it.
You're not gonna see it. Your phone's too bright.
You can't see it, but he looks like a fucking Power Ranger. What a wasted effort that was. Let's see if I can find the anime though.
No, it wasn't anime. It was manga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it would help if I put that on there.
So it's going to be entirely black and white.
Oh, okay, I see it. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Actually, it does.
Read it before.
Yeah. Here is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, what that looks like is a Japanese person who is already good at their art style, learning how to do the American style. Well, that's what that looks like to me.
So I think the problem is when you look at
his costume has webs coming off the back.
Well, that's because there were many Spider-Man costumes that had that throughout the years.
Yeah.
The problem is defining manga or anime as a style when there's so many, because there's so many styles. Oh yeah, the box cover.
That's sick.
There's so many styles that would blend in well with each other. You could put Saitama
So good, dude.
in
Dang, I'm gonna have to read
most
that.
Western comics. And one, he would probably look better than most of the ones being drawn now. But like,
He does kind of have that.
yeah, well, because
Yeah.
he's highly inspired by
And
Western.
it's the same studio that I believe drew out Mob Psycho.
Well, it's the same creator.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's one. He did 2 webcomics. He did Mob Psycho 100 and he did One Punch Man.
That makes sense on the names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different people drew out the different adaptations of them. If you've seen like
Okay.
the original
They look
webcomic for
similar
them, they
to me,
look
though.
awful.
Do they? Oh, I've seen Mob Psycho's original. Yeah, I have.
But endearing. They're very endearing. They're charming.
Right, and it's
because you
like-
see bits of it even in the manga adaptation and in the anime.
Yes, they
And
kind of like
especially
jump to these panels or whatever. But
with Saitama, the OK looks just like a more smooth drawn version of the webcomic.
yeah,
of
and
same
all the
frame.
lines are all wiggly and stuff. But like, I think it was one of those things where the guy just had a really, really good story, and he didn't like. He was like, okay, I'm gonna deal with the art skill set that I have,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna write my story out as good as I can, and just deal with the art later.
Well, so originally he was trying to pitch the story to Shonen Jump, and they said it was stupid.
Which it is.
Yeah, and
On
they
purpose.
take some stupid stories from time to time, right? It's a story that would belong more in Ultra Jump, which is usually more seinen, or even the few stuff that could be shonen in it. It's like experienced people that just get a slot.
Yeah, and
right?
Shonen Jump now has become a little bit on the like, to be in Shonen Jump weekly or monthly, whatever they
Yeah.
do their volumes. You
So they do a
essentially-
weekly jump, and then there's the monthly.
Yeah,
collection,
you essentially have to be a top dog anime or manga to be in it. Like, if Naruto was in it all the time, One Piece is still in it all the time.
Well, they have to take a chance on someone. So one of the
right. They
ways
have to
I
put
like
new
about
stuff
the
in there,
magazine,
but like they're
Yeah.
never gonna take One Piece out. They're not gonna do that.
well, what they do is they use a
or just whatever
like
shows
the front
that's still
runners
going, you
to
know?
sell the other stories, right?
Right.
But
Oh, that makes sense. It's like, well, you're gonna read One Piece, so here's a new anime that we
yeah,
threw in
that's
there.
how they sell stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which I think is way better than how they try to do it here. Because you go to a comic shop here, and they want you to pick up all these side stories about other
That makes
characters.
sense,
And
yeah,
you're like, but I have
yeah.
to buy all these stories separately. Why do I want to invest in them? I only came here to read Batman, right?
Speaking of comic stores, real quick, and I may go to one. I just kind of don't have any money at the moment, but like, I do want to go to one in the next week or two. But what's cool about comic stores is if it's something that you're into and you genuinely like comics, or you genuinely like that sort of culture. Comic stores like have nobody in them anymore, and they're fucking sweet to go to.
Oh, yeah.
because like the people there, like there's one in
Borderline going out of business, but
yeah, there's one in Grand Prairie, like 20 minutes away from here, and it's like those guys. Where you go in there, they'll talk to you about anything you want.
You know what's funny too? Talking about nobody being in it. Back when you used to regularly be on the show, right? We would. This show used to have a different format for people watching, either now or later. It used to be.
Now or later, yeah.
Well, yeah, because people watch afterwards.
Yeah.
We originally only ran it for an hour, and then we bumped it up to an hour and a half.
What is it now?
It's an hour and a half. It's from 6 to 7:30. But we bumped it up to an hour and a half because it was easier to divide it that way. And then we did a midweek mini-sode. We didn't do like Saturday and Wednesday. We did like
a little 30-minute.
yeah. That got bumped up to a 45-minute one when we bumped the main show up to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And the reason we did that is because it was a very focused show, sort of. Like, we would go on tangents.
Yeah.
But we would
had like themes.
There were 3 of us, and each one of us would bring like a story or topic we wanted to talk about, and we would talk about that one for like half an hour. So with like 3 half-hour blocks.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that. And then if we didn't have anything to talk about, we're like, fuck.
And often, one of the things that I would bring up was the state of the comic book industry. And this was
We talked about. I can't even think of the term for it. LCS is a lot,
yeah.
or LGS is.
It was
whatever.
LCA, your local comic book
A
shop.
lot of some
Yeah.
people call them local gaming stores too. It just
Well,
depends.
now.
Yeah,
because that's what they've become.
Well, because they have to. They have to sell more than just.
Well, that's what we were
comics.
talking about at the time,
Yeah.
too.
Well, I wasn't really in that scene at the time.
Yeah,
And-
that's what I was bringing to the table.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Now, years later, not really too much into comics. I know a little bit about them, but mostly into like the gaming side of things, like cards and just whatever.
And this was back in 2015 that we were
games,
talking about this too, and it's kind of sad to see the state that it's become, because like you knew it was coming and you had to see it happen.
So fortunately though, there is a comic book store around us. I say around us, but it's like 20 minutes away. The one in Grand Prairie. That one, even though they sell lots of cards and stuff, is still like 90% comic book store.
Yeah.
Like everything is laid out on tables, comics everywhere. And like they have their rare comics in the back and stuff, which is where I got my Invincible issue. But like I like that comic store particularly is still doing that. Whereas if you go all the way to Dallas, there's comic book stores that I've been to that practically don't have comics anymore. It's like board games, cards, which cards make a lot of money, and then like not board games, but what's that? Those games that people play, Warhammer, D&D,
Tabletop.
Yeah, tabletop.
That's just what you could, like tabletop games.
Yeah, so and it's like that,
which covers board games are part of tabletop, but more of like tabletop RPG.
Yeah, that's what we're really referring
Warhammer, to. You would call a tabletop strategy game.
Yeah, and it's like the tabletop like board game section and trading cards has really been what's keeping a lot of those stores alive, which is unfortunate, but it's just that's how things are turning. So, you know. It's like it's unfortunate if you like that kind of stuff because you're going to watch it fail.
What's funny is the tabletop more so is what's keeping live, and like you get this.
Well, D&D's become mainstream, so.
Well, it's also higher markup, right? So a store makes more off of selling D&D sets than they do off of cards. So like they can go through their entire inventory of cards, especially like during raffle days and stuff.
They probably still make a good amount of money, but they probably
the
make
markups
more.
are very low compared to what they spent on the cards, right?
Makes sense.
So like Wizards for Magic already made all of their money by the time those cards reach the store. The store has to make their money.
Right,
back.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, but that's how stores work in general. It's not just card stores.
And it's not even like, so the tabletop sets don't give them that much markup. Also, hello, Fishozo. It's the books. The books are what makes
those books are expensive. They're like $40 for like the player's handbook.
All the way up to like you could spend anywhere between 80 to 100 for like a Dungeon Master's Guide.
Or like I think Xanathar's Guide to Everything is pretty expensive too, and it's like the same width as the player's handbook. And you're like,
but it's expansion content.
Yeah, and you're like, what's going on here? Am I paying for a book or?
Well, so here's the sad truth about tabletop RPGs. And why, as I slowly build mine out, I'm so busy doing other things I can't dedicate a lot.
You got a lot
to
of
it.
projects, yeah.
I'm just making all of the players material free on my website, so like there's a whole section of the site that will just be dedicated to.
Well, but see the difference between you and I can already tell now before you go further. The difference between you and D&D is a lot. One, you're doing this out of passion.
Well,
D&D's been around forever. They're gonna make money.
Don't give me
off
too
of
much
it.
credit. What I'm basically gonna be doing is the same thing they're doing, just at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So,
but like, I don't know. I could see you being a little bit nicer and like helping people obtain the things they need.
Yeah, like I'll probably give the starter set information out for free, like just completely. The PDF that you would need to run like the starting campaign of this whatever story. But what they expect you to do in tabletop is the DM basically subsidizes the rest of the players, right? So they might all get their player manual, which you should have your own player manual for whatever game you're playing,
right?
Even if it's a free model.
Yeah, I mean, like we're not saying it's mandatory, but like in your best interest, no matter what game you're playing, you should pick up the handbook.
Like I made sure when we were playing the Final Fantasy game on stream on this channel that don't feel like you have to stay if your phone is acting up. But thanks for stopping by anyway. But when I was playing Final Fantasy here on stream, right? We did a Final Fantasy tabletop game. I made sure that I sent the PDF out to everyone who was playing because they need to be able to look at the rules, right?
Certain things you just got to refer to.
And that's why that's the cheap one, right? Compared to everything else. They're always expensive when they first come out, but they do several like reprints that have more information than the previous ones. And they make sure that the player's manual is the cheap one. They'll even give out a starter brochure that's like 40 pages of information.
That's not bad.
Yeah. But
well, like
the
the
DM
actual handbook, like you're gonna charge
pays
for
fucking everything.
Oh, I know.
Hundreds of dollars if you want to play the
And
official.
it's not even just your game. That's
Yeah, but you're
any
paying
game.
it for everybody.
Right, but that's like every game.
Yeah. Well, I'm
You know?
using D&D as the example.
Oh, I thought you were referring to yours.
No, I
Okay.
wouldn't even charge. I mean, the DM would mostly still be paying for everything, but I wouldn't charge that much.
Yeah, and the
unless
thing
I
too-
had to for physical
The
sets.
thing about D&D too is like, unless you're somebody who's been playing the same version for 5 to 10 years plus,
you have to keep getting things.
you have to keep getting things because there's no way you're gonna know everything. Like you could play D&D. I played for 3 years. I played 5e for 3 years, and there was still so much shit I had to go back and refer
Yeah.
to because I was like, oh, I forgot that that reacts this way, or I have to do a certain roll for this.
And that's why here on the Vomitorium we advocate for piracy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Why not?
Especially for Wizard of the Coast of all people.
You know, I used when I really got back into, you know, like 4 or 5 years ago when I got into Pokemon cards again. I had really done a lot of research about Wizards of the Coast because they did the original ones, and I was really into it. And then the more I had like started learning about it, I was like, yeah, Wizards is kind of
Yeah.
they've really fallen into that money trap where they're just trying to make money, especially with like modern Magic the Gathering cards. They're even doing a Warhammer set. They did a D&D set, so they're like just doing whatever they can to stay relevant. And it's like Wizards is trying, I guess. I don't know. Trying too hard.
I think they're not trying hard enough, right?
Or maybe they're
because
just trying hard in the wrong area.
Well, it's the easy way to do things. That's why I
Oh,
don't. Right?
I get what
they're
you're-
they're,
like,
oh,
by
they're
saying-
taking the route of least resistance instead of putting proper effort into making things better and pleasing the fan base. They're like, here's a little nibble here. Here's a crossover thing. It's literally the least resistant that they could do.
Where it's like, and all trading card things are different. Like, because you know
Yeah.
Pokemon, they're like, all right, well, we went from EX to GX to V to VMAX
Yeah.
to V Star, whatever the hell. Whereas like, Magic has not done that. They're just like, yeah, we're gonna give you the same shit we've been doing for 30 years. We're just gonna give you new sets.
Yeah.
We're just gonna give you new cards. Like, here's a crossover with Street Fighter. Here's a fucking Stranger Things secret layer drop. And it's like, yeah, those things are cool. They're novelty for people who collect. But if you're gonna play the game, it's like, why the fuck would I want that? I don't care about Dustin from Stranger Things on my deck.
Yeah.
Not that I play the game, but it's like I understand that. So it's like people want, they make a new thing that's like, oh, this makes the game more fun. You know,
Yeah.
rather than, oh, dude, this has a picture of Negan from The Walking Dead on it, which of course I bought it, but like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is a nice collector piece.
Yeah, but that's
What does it add to the game?
The problem is they're playing the speculative market. Not that the speculative market makes them any more money, right? Like it makes some people who play that market more money. But because they know people are playing it, it makes them more money because people are buying things they wouldn't normally buy for the hopes of making more money later.
Yeah, I used to
And
do that, too.
Wizard already has their money.
Yeah, I used to be one of those people that when I got into trading cards, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and open up a bunch of packs and then sell whatever rare cards I get. Now I just do it for fun and my own collection. And if I do get something I want to sell, I probably hold on to it for like a few months and then I sell it. But I was one of those people that was like, I'm gonna make my money back. You're not gonna make your money back.
No.
You can get lucky, but it's not likely. Like, you need to do it for fun, not
Well,
for
and it hurts these stores, right?
Yep.
So a big store like Walmart, whatever, it doesn't affect them at all. Smaller stores,
Like the
a lot of,
LCSs.
especially comic book stores,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of getting fucked raw because they rely on these other things to make up for the fact that people don't buy comics, because people don't buy comics. If you are
And
somebody
not
who
only
buys a
that,
comic, you are a
unfortunately-
rare unicorn.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
actually, I buy comics, but it's only because I'm at the comic book store.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I buy the comics. I buy The Walking Dead. I only buy it because I'm there. I'm like, oh, let me get a Walking Dead issue on.
Well, that's because most comics historically have been an impulse purchase, which is why it was better when they were at newsstands and in like gas stations.
Yeah, and I was gonna say something too about comic books. Oh, the comic books are tricky too when it comes to value, and I don't mean
Yeah.
like trying to resell them. I mean purchasing them, because one, to get multiple stories with American comic books, you have to buy multiple comic books, right?
Yeah, and not even just of this. You have to buy multiple runs. Yeah, that like
Right.
So you have to buy Uncanny X-Men, but then you have to get like Gambit and Rogue,
Right, so
and then you have to.
here's hypothetical situation. This is my journey to the comic book store. Say I'm reading 4 different things at once: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Walking Dead, fucking I don't know. We'll say make some shit up. I don't know, fucking whatever.
Yeah, but both of those are at least isolated. Right?
Yeah. Or X-Men, or like we'll just throw some no-name random thing out there, right? But it's like I have to, 1, find the issues I want. 2, find the cover you want, because they do that. They do multiple covers. And then 3, you have to find that specific version, like you said. You have to find X-Men Uncanny or X-Men Giant or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just whatever it is. And there's so many
Giant-sized
different...
X-Men.
And if you are into X-Men or you're into Batman or whatever, and you want to read all the stories, you have to read every single variation.
Yeah.
And not only on top of that, the point I'm getting at is comic books are not as cheap as they could be.
No, not even as they could be, as they should be.
And
I'm going to say
nothing is as cheap as it should be.
Right, and you say, well, anything's as expensive as it should be as long as somebody's willing to purchase it.
But comic books aren't. They don't fall into that. Comic books don't fall into that area, because from when I've bought them, I've paid for $7 for a comic all the way up to $12, and that $12
Well, I
was
think
not
that's
worth
just
it
how
to me.
markets work. The problem is the comics aren't in that zone because people aren't buying them.
Exactly.
That's the real
thing.
Yeah.
Because people aren't buying them as much as they should, they shouldn't be $7.
Yeah, that's the
I
issue.
remember going to not Walmart, Minyard as a kid, and being able to buy Sonic the Hedgehog for $3.
Yeah.
And now comics are double that, and I'm like, bro, it's paper and ink. Like, I
Well,
get
that's
you
why,
guys
like-
got to make money, but also people want to buy it. Like, you got to have people want to buy it.
Until you know what the most sold comic in America is right now?
I actually did know the answer. Hold on, let me think. What is it?
Dogman.
Oh,
The kids book. It's a comic.
I don't know that.
It's by Pickman or the Captain Underpants
I
guy.
saw it at Walmart.
Yeah.
I saw it at Walmart like 3 days ago when I was by the book like TV electronics section, and I saw that. I was like, that looks like a Captain Underpants.
It's the same
book.
guy.
Yeah, because the way the font was in
Yeah.
the back. Yeah, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Most
And they're
sold
like,
comic in America.
yeah, that makes sense.
This is Scholastics, books fairs, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. All the kids love it. Until that came around, could you take a guess at what was the most sold? By a large margin.
Spider-Man. What?
Archie's Digest.
Wait, what?
Archie's Digest. Like Archie comics,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Makes
And you know
sense.
why?
The
Because it's
newspaper?
right there at the checkout aisle.
Oh, okay. I was saying newspaper.
Right? Like even large margin even on all of the other Archie comics because they're not there. Right? It's just because
And
Archie's
it's like they're not even
Digest is right there.
interesting. Like the only
Well,
people
but
who
it's
buy Archie
cheap.
are people who have already read Archie.
Yeah. It's like you're paying what? $5 for 200 pages
Yeah.
in small
And
size.
I will admit, things like Archie and the Peanuts, Charlie Brown, reading those real quick comics
Yeah.
that only take you 30 seconds to read the whole thing are actually, in a way, 1, they're satisfying, and 2, there's like a bit of nostalgia reading it because you know that story's been around for so long in a weird way. Like whenever I read the Peanuts, and if
Yeah,
I go
because
back,
Archie's Digest does have a lot of short comics like that too,
Yeah.
not just the longer.
Yeah.
stories.
And I think I'm more referring to how the Peanuts format is.
Well, because you put Archie in there too, and it's like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have seen some of those in the digest.
Yeah.
They'll usually have like some 10-page
but
stories
I
in
get
there
that.
too.
They are satisfying to read, but like
Yeah.
personally, I'd much rather read like an actual, not actual because they are comics, but like more modern.
You want a serial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
But yeah, it's because it was right there, cheap, black and white, on book stock paper, right? That's actually how they kept it cheap. It was that kind of manila colored
Yeah.
bookhouse paper, and a paperback book, and right with the magazines, you'd pick it up, you'd buy it impulse buy.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what magazines kind of were anyway. Unless you were following a magazine, like if you're like, I buy Better Homes and Livings every month.
Well, you just get a subscription then, right? If,
And at that point, it's coming to your house.
all mags on the
So-
store, which it's more expensive at the store, and that's how they make most of their money is store sales.
So pretty much anything at the store that's a magazine is an impulse buy,
Yeah, pretty much.
which is why the stand is at the front.
Yeah, nobody goes. I mean, maybe if you follow it, but you would only do that if you're going to take like a month off. You're like, I'm just not interested this month, right? But for the most part, yeah, it's like, oh, I haven't read Home and Garden in a while. Let me see. Oh, it's an interesting one. I'll pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because otherwise you just get a subscription.
Yeah, like Nintendo Power.
And you're saving
Nintendo
money.
Power was ridiculous. It was
Yeah.
$12 for the whole year. That was just stupid, but I don't even know how they made money off of that.
They did raise the rates eventually, but there was
Not
also
by
this
much.
was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, like $12 for a year. That was okay.
Right, it was almost like you were like, that's kind of expensive, but I'll do it. And it's like, it wasn't that it was
It's a
expensive.
little over $1 per issue.
It wasn't that
Yeah.
it was expensive. It was like expensive for that kind of purchase. You're like, oh, I'm gonna subscribe to a fucking magazine.
Yeah. Trying to remember our trade.
Yeah, and by no means am I trying to say that the 90s, like the inflation has hit that much towards like, oh, we're like our parents, where our fucking dollar went a lot further. You know, because it really didn't.
Of 90s to now, yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't really see too much of that, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I was spending a lot of
Something I will say, though, is I swear you will not find this anywhere, and if you do, please let me know, because I'm headed that way right now. When we were kids, our local Minyard grocery store,
Yeah.
whatever your local grocery store was, for us, had a high-top vending machine, 1 quarter for sodas.
Yeah, I remember that.
1 quarter for an orange soda, Dr. Thunder, whatever the off-brand was. It was 1 fucking quarter, bro. Where is that?
Dude, well, for like the last decade, if you want to just like account for inflation, Walmart was doing it name brand sodas for 50 cents.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Like a can?
Yeah,
That's
can,
not bad.
like a can of Dr.
Yeah,
Pepper.
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Yeah, that-
Travis
that
and I,
should
like,
be the
buck,
average price.
right? We would when we'd go on walks, we'd stop at the Walmart specifically so we could each pick up a soda because it was just 50 cents.
Right, and now they're like $1.
Yeah.
And to me, growing up, $1 vending machine drink was a bottle.
Yeah.
It was like you got a Sprite or Coke or whatever, and it would come in like it's a 12-ounce bottle. But now it's like for one of those, it's either $1.25 or like $1.50. So, and like a quarter is a lot for an increase on a drink. You know. So, and you know where I work too. I won't say any names, but you know.
Yeah, like it's just like there in the
no,
screen.
No,
the whole
I know
time.
that's why I did that. But where I work,
Yeah.
I've seen the price of a burger go up over almost 8-9 years or whatever. However long I've been there, almost a decade. I've seen it go up maybe like 70 cents,
Yeah.
and I can't really give too much reasoning on the politics of why we do it and what we do with that money, because I do know what we do with it and how we pay people and stuff. But yeah, I've seen it go up a lot, and they're talking about making it go up again, and I'm like, dang man, inflation. I'm just like, look on,
Yeah.
because I don't control that stuff. But yeah, it's like crazy. Every inflation. I don't know how we got onto the topic of inflation, but yeah,
Because comics cost too much.
yeah.
But the thing is, they've risen faster than inflation.
Wow,
Maybe
it's
now,
killing me.
like if you took what comics costed like 3 years ago, right, and put it to how much things have inflated after the pandemic, now they might be appropriately cost, but then they went up even more.
Sorry if I keep messing with my nose, dude. My allergies are
Yeah.
fucking me up.
Well, it's also like really dry
Yeah.
in this room specifically.
We got too much longer here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with comic books not doing as well as like they potentially could, fortunately, this time of era right now, I guess, because of like TikTok, the past like year and a half, bookstores started doing well again.
Oh, yeah.
Because apparently
Yeah.
it was like a trend on TikTok that people were talking about books and stuff, which is awesome. That's like the most wholesome fucking internet trend I've seen in a long time. But like, it gives comic books a chance, but at the same time, it's mostly books. It's mostly not.
I think though, like, if you're an independent comic book seller, there's actually a site for helping get your books into libraries, especially if they're kid friendly. I have it bookmarked somewhere.
Yours technically is right. X Time is Chaos.
That
It's like
one,
young adult.
Yeah, it teenager,
yeah,
maybe with
I know it's
parental supervision.
I know it's aimed for adults and young adults, like 20s and stuff.
It's aimed for like 15 through 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that somebody who's like 12 couldn't like it.
Oh yeah,
Because there's a lot of action in it.
the problem is just it would be parental guidance because there's some excessive language in
Right,
it.
yeah, and that's and.
But
I
no,
haven't
I've
read
got
too
other
much
ones
of it,
like
but-
the Pop Rocks.
Pop Rocks, you
it's
could-
entirely family friendly.
Yeah, you could.
There's some
that's
like
that could be
jokes
on
where it's like
Nickelodeon.
almost explicit language
well,
is going to be,
SpongeBob
but then
did
it
too.
gets cut off.
SpongeBob
right?
did the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pop Rocks could be on Nickelodeon.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I see the Nickelodeon all over that.
Well, the style was heavily based off of Deke.
Who was Deke? That was like
Carmen Sandiego.
early.
They did the
yeah, I was. Well, what I was thinking was
yeah.
Saturday morning cartoons because the Deke.
yeah. Inspector Gadget.
Go Gadget.
The like Nintendo shows like Captain N, Super
Mega
Mario
Man.
Brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, specifically, their proportions were based off of how Princess Toadstool
I was actually
drawn in the Super Show.
Earlier in the
Yeah.
podcast, I was thinking about the Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
And how like weird that was. So you probably have way more memories of that than I do. Those are real deep memories for me. But like
I've also rewatched them recently.
I'm sure, and I haven't ever. But the only thing I really remember about Zelda is Link pulling the sword out of the stone or something. I don't remember if he did that in the show, but that's like my only memory of that.
Oh, I think he did.
I don't know. Maybe it was like
But
the
I don't
intro
think
to the show
he
or
didn't
something.
actually do it in the show. I think it was in not the actual opening.
Yeah.
What you remember was the coming up next Friday bits on the Super Mario
That
Brothers
makes sense.
Super Show
Yeah,
where they
that
showed
makes
you a
sense.
preview for the next Zelda.
That makes sense
Yeah.
because I remember, and as a kid, you don't know, or I guess I didn't know, that shows and TV is on a block and that everything has a spot for when it's going to come on. I didn't know that as a kid.
Yeah.
So I would try to get up early and be like, well, I know Mega Man and all the Nintendo shows come on really early, but like I never caught them. So like maybe me only seeing the next time on Zelda is all I ever saw.
Yeah,
Because I don't think I ever actually watched the
because
show.
Zelda was on Fridays.
I think there was one episode where they talk about Lake Hylia from Link to the
Yeah.
Past, and that's
but
all I remember.
the problem was Zelda was on Fridays when it was new. That show was new before either of us could have been watching it, really, right?
Well, it was based on Link to the Past. Link to the Past came out in 1991, right?
This is before. So the
Right?
Super Mario Brothers Super Show
I think.
was done in '89.
Well, that was based on 3.
yeah.
It was based on Super Mario
No,
Bros.
no,
3.
it was before that. It's based on 2.
Oh.
The
thought it
New
was 3.
Adventures of Super Mario
Oh,
Brothers.
that was the cartoon.
That was the
That
one.
was the
So that was
cartoon. Yeah, yeah,
only
yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah,
Super
that's
Show
right,
had
that's right.
cartoon and live action
Yeah,
bits.
that's right.
And that was Zelda attached
Spaghetti.
to it. So it was based kind of loosely on the first 2 Zeldas, but it was its own story. So we never watched Zelda because they never reran it. I didn't catch it until
exactly.
later when we were.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is all deep memories for me.
Yeah.
This is all a blur, like an actual blur. I
So
remember waking
my
up.
whole experience with Super Show, and you watched it a couple times too, was getting up early on Sunday mornings because that was when they would rerun old episodes of the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
Super Show.
and then after that was Made in Japan. But I remember waking up really early one morning and like catching the tail end of you watching Super Mario
Yeah.
Brothers Super Show, and like Peach had a hammer or something, like a mallet. I don't remember if that was.
She's had one like they've had a lot of different things in different
Yeah, I
episodes.
just remember that and me going, Peach has a hammer.
Yeah.
You know, I just remember that as a kid. So
Toadstool, because she wasn't Peach in that. She was just Princess Toadstool.
Yeah.
You don't actually see what her name is until Super Mario 64.
Peach.
Really?
Yeah.
Unless you read the manuals. American
So-
manuals didn't.
Was her name Peach before N64?
Yes. So in Japanese, her name was it was Peachy, like Americanized word for peach, not
Yeah.
the Japanese word for it, hime, right?
Okay.
Which means
yeah.
princess.
Yeah.
In our manuals and in the game, like in the Doki Doki Panic version of 2 that we got, right? And in 3, it just said P Toadstool. Also, hello, Rick. It's Cross Comics. It just said P Toadstool, which was Peach
That makes
Toadstool.
sense.
But
And,
they
yeah.
didn't know what the P stood for, so
it's
it was just
P-Power or
Princess
whatever. Yeah.
Toadstool.
Okay. Because in
Yeah.
Super Mario Bros. 3, you had the P power. I don't know if that had anything.
No, that had nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was completely unrelated.
Yeah, actually something that this is kind of unrelated, but it has to do with Super Mario Bros. 3. Something that like actually kind of blew my mind the other night was I was talking about how the coolest thing they ever did in Super Mario Brothers was in Odyssey, how they gave you momentum, and then you were like, dude, that was
they
in
did that in
Super Mario
3.
Bros. 3, and that's one of my most played games. And I was like, damn, you're right.
Yeah.
Why was that mechanic lost for 25 years? Like, I don't understand.
Well, because they did it in Super Mario World, they just didn't show you.
Yeah, but
If
to
you're-
an extent.
yeah,
to an
you
extent.
could feel it.
Because you could fly.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could, if you had the cape.
You still needed to
Yeah.
hit the momentum to launch off.
Yeah, you could feel it.
Yeah. Momentum wasn't necessary in 64 because if you slightly tilted, you could walk. If you
Not
held
only
it,
that,
you would run.
Not only that, but I could see him taking it out because in 64 it was like, well, we're on a new level. We're on a new plane. We're on a new plane, so
And
like
there
you
was
may
other
not
ways of
necessarily
doing things.
need
Like you
that
could
way
launch
of moving.
yourself forward.
Right,
and
yeah, you
stuff
had
like
the long
that.
jump and
Yeah.
stuff. You may not necessarily need that. Whereas in Odyssey, they're like, let's put it back in. You had all the stuff from 64 and Sunshine, but with that momentum from the 2D
Yeah.
Mario games. And it was cool because if you did a long jump, then he would start running faster, and Mario would do the thing where his arms were behind him, and he would run even faster, and you could keep running that fast. I was like, they need to keep that in the next
Yeah.
edition. But like I said, I could talk about Odyssey a lot. I love that.
Well,
game.
I mean, Odyssey, much like Breath of the Wild, was kind of like a new way of looking at Mario while bringing back a lot of stuff from the old.
Yeah, I was not a fan when I initially played the game. I was not a
Yeah.
fan of having so many moons to get. But then as I played more, I was like, I like this style. I like this. Some of them didn't feel as impactful as others, but some of them felt really good.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I can gripe about the game, though, it was their choice on boss fights were weird. I didn't care for the rabbits.
Oh yeah,
That was a weird concept. I didn't.
some of the bosses were all right.
Some
I
of them
liked
were
fighting
cool.
the dragon.
The dragon was
pretty
cool.
fun.
The electric dude in the city was cool.
The big bomber rabbit was kind of fun with the chain chomp.
Right. Some of the rabbits were cool, but like the main four that you fought over and over, I thought was kind of a cop
Yeah.
out. Not good for Mario.
It kind of felt like the Koopalings, right? How like all the fights were roughly sort of the same, but with a different.
yeah,
thing.
but like, I personally would have rather have had the Koopalings because one, they were established Mario characters. I don't
Yeah.
care about these stupid rabbits.
I don't either.
I really don't know why they're trying to mix rabbits in with Mario.
Well, because they're not rabbids, they're just rabbits.
Yes, but
And I get no.
they kind of are.
No. If you know Japanese, it makes sense. What was the big thing about Odyssey? Where were you going?
Around the world.
No,
To
no,
moon?
the moon. In Japanese culture, they don't have a man on the moon. They have a rabbit on the moon.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense now.
That's why Sailor Moon's name is Princess Usagi, and Usagi means rabbit.
Yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, it was
But
all
still,
the moon thing.
that still doesn't change the fact that I don't like them. I think they're goofy looking characters.
Oh yeah, you could
They
dislike
don't-
them, but it fits the thing.
Yeah, they don't really fit the Mario world. If that, I don't know. I don't personally think they do.
Well, I mean, there've been rabbits in the Mario world for a long time.
I know.
It's 64.
I know, but like these ones look like the rabbits that come from Rayman. They look like the raving rabbits.
I mean, they could have
That's why
changed
I
the
don't
way,
like-
but
that's why I
they
don't
had
like
to be
them.
white because the rabbit on the moon is supposed to be white. It's like
Yes.
supposed to be the color of the moon.
Yes, and
Yeah.
some of them look okay. Like the dude with the green hat that hops around
Yeah.
looks like a fucking jackrabbit. But like some
The
of
girl
them,
looks all right. The fat one, I don't really care for him.
yeah, it's right. Some of the bigger rabbits, they kind of gave that goofy face, and they look like they're too close to that Rayman style,
Yeah.
and I hate those.
It's like
rabbits.
half of them are right. Like I could take it or leave them, but
Yeah, they almost look like the raving rabbits, which Mario has been doing the crossover with for the past few years anyway.
which I actually, if I look at it,
those games are actually supposedly pretty good. Too.
I'm really upset
They play like XCOM.
that Raving Rabbids didn't go with the Japanese myth because Ubisoft, they're a French company,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They should have just like leaned into like, well, we could sell this game to Japan by going with the Japanese myth because they are aliens, but they're not from the moon. If they had just made the rabbits from the moon, that probably actually could have like they could have done so much of curtailing the myth around and made them more
Yeah.
likable characters and
Yeah,
stuff like
and
that.
the thing about I think rabbits kind of with Rayman raving rabbits they kind
Yeah.
of shot themselves in the foot because the characters could have been good, but they're obnoxious.
Yeah.
They're just obnoxious, and it's like the concept was all right, but like they're like minions. They put in jokes that they think are funny, but they end up being cringy, and you're
Yeah.
like, I kind of fell flat.
They are all right in the Mario Clash of Kingdoms.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, Clash of Kingdoms. I was thinking it was Mario Raving Rabbits. It's Rayman.
No,
but,
it's Mario
the one that,
XCOM.
yeah, and I heard that game's actually strategically pretty fun,
Yeah.
but it's not my thing. So.
It's the what you would say the redeeming factor of the rabbits because they almost single-handedly ruined Rayman for like a generation.
Yeah, The only good game that the rabbits were in was the first Rayman Raving Rabbits, and that was it. It was a fun party game that you played for like 45 minutes, beat the game.
Oh yeah,
touched
because you could play mini games with your button if you had the balance board. It's like that was one
we
of the
didn't have
selling
that.
points.
No, we played it on the Wii. Me, Tyler, and Joey played it on the Wii years ago.
Yeah.
And we beat the game in one night, and it was fun. Like we laughed pretty hard at some point because you're just unlocking plungers to climb out of a fucking jail cell, and like it's fun, but like everything after that's stupid. You're just like, I don't care about these characters. It's hard to care about them.
Yeah.
And Rayman, it's hard to care about Rayman because he doesn't say anything. And it's not like the character of Link who doesn't say anything. It's like, I want Rayman to say something. I don't know. That's just how I feel when I play those games.
Well, because he was kind of a silent protagonist,
But he also wasn't. Did he talk in Rayman 2? I'm going to look that up.
I don't remember. Well, so in the earliest Rayman games, there was no talking. There were
had
sounds.
the original one.
There was the text, right? But it was very rare in between. Like some NPCs, when you came up to them, there would be like text on the screen before they disappeared and stuff like that. So he's kind of, sort of a silent protagonist, but he didn't feel like a silent protagonist like a lot of them did. He just felt like your average platformer, you know? They keep them pretty silent though. Have you played Rayman Legends?
Yes, because Mama
Like
needed
nobody
help on
talks
it.
in those games.
Yeah, because Mama needed help on
Yeah.
that game, and
I like that. Like almost
it
nobody
actually is a
talks in
fun
those games.
platformer
Yeah.
too. So what I'm reading is that Rayman has talked in 2 of the games. So apparently Rayman can talk English, French, and German.
Makes sense.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
At the end of the DS Rayman Raving Rabbids 2, it shows him speaking to humans, and then in Rayman Origins is a combination of English and other various words that were used in the game. So I guess Rayman can talk, but he's like one of those characters where like speech just isn't necessary for the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like he was a silent protagonist de facto because most things were.
Yeah, if he needed to talk, then he could.
Yeah.
Whereas Link is just like,
But I like that Origin was kind of that way. Like he did talk, like I guess at the end there. But I've played Origin. Most of Origin was silent. Like almost nobody talked.
I didn't
the
play
fairies.
Origin.
The same with Legends. Like the fairies would talk. Like they would give you direction.
I've played parts of Legends, Rayman 2 on the N64, and the original Rayman on PC. That was it. Those are the only ones I played. Or Rayman Forever, whatever definitive version we had.
You also played what I like to call
Raving
Rayman
Rabbits.
64 Rayman 64 Redux.
I thought that was Rayman 2.
No.
Rayman 2's on the
the
64.
Tonic Trouble.
Oh, I was talking about Tonic Trouble 2 days ago.
Tonic Trouble was originally a
Actually,
like a
3D
demo. Like they were trying to figure out like how would we make a Rayman in 3D space.
That makes sense.
And then they ended up making Tonic Trouble.
I was talking about that game a few days. My last shift I was at work before my vacation. I was talking about that game to people because I was like, yeah, I had this one obscure game that always stuck with me because you drink this Tonic Trouble, and it would make you big, and you become a character called Super Ed.
Because his name was Ed,
Yes,
so then he became Super.
And like, that's why
Super
that's
Ed.
why at work randomly every like couple months I'll just go Super Ed, and they're just like, what does that mean, bro? I'm like, it's an old 64.
just play Tonic Trouble,
And
you'll know.
You know what's funny is I've never seen the actual ending to that game. I've only seen the alting, which is I guess the true ending.
Yeah.
But I've never seen the ending to that game because I went a different path in that game for the alt ending without knowing it. And it's not a game I'm ever going to go back and replay because one, there's points in the game that are frustratingly hard because of the way the game was made on the N64, the platforming.
It was
and
jank.
Exactly, it's jank and it makes you not want to play it.
Yeah, which is also probably why they decided to make that its own game. And then later, when they finally made a 3D Rayman, it was better.
And as I was just saying that just now, I stopped for a second and paused because my brain had started thinking about the ice level with the floating platforms in Tonic Trouble as I was saying that, and it like legit gave me PTSD for a second. I was like, yo, fuck that. I'm not replaying that game ever.
Yeah. Or
I'm not replaying
because there's a
that
lot
shit.
of timed parts in that game, right?
Yes,
So
a lot, and it makes you
very
wait.
early on, it's like the second level where there's like the magma and you have to go from the
yes,
stones and stuff.
yeah.
Like you fuck that part right there.
Yeah, and what I hate games that make you wait for shit too long.
Yeah.
I get if you have to be patient, but like there was those floating platforms in Tonic Trouble. You would sit there on that lava thing, and I'm like, come on, motherfucker. And 45 seconds later, you were finally there. I'm like, it wasn't even hard. It was just long. So, yeah, I don't know. I could rant about that though.
Anyway, hey, we made it to the end of the show.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you didn't have anybody, so I was like, fuck it, I'll hop in there.
Yeah, if he's usually fine on Saturdays. Marsupial has this tendency, because he works during the week, right?
Yeah.
That he'll take a nap after work and then just not wake up in time for the show. Most of the time, I can spam him and he's up in time.
Not this time. My dude was passed out.
But yeah, if for some reason it's not, you can hop on. You can hop on next time. But if he is here, we all have to be in headphones. So you're probably gonna have to hop on your own mic or something in another.
I was like, I saw you didn't have anybody, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just grab a chair real quick.
Yeah, well, this is how we used to do most of the show. Like,
I know it used to be like
I'm just
fucking
not set up
close.
to have like the sound behind us without the microphone picking up like we used to. Because we used to have the microphone like way in front with the gain set to where it would pick both of us, and then
also,
Mickey would be on my headphones.
We also had the
behind
couch
us.
too in that dining room corner with the couch cat, so that was cool. But I'm gonna get out of this corner.
Yeah, and I guess before let me lower the gain back.
Show, right?
I do have another show after this. I'm gonna be on the Matriarchy.
So you hop on somebody else's show after.
Yeah. I don't run it.
So much in one night, dude.
Yeah, I do get like a half-hour break.
But I guess like for you, in a way, it's sort of your job, so like I get it.
Yeah, it's like it's just what you do.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, it's part of the schedule. I'm just going into the next bit.
Yeah.
The next job.
What was I going to say? Oh, before I sign off, if anybody's still watching, I have just put all of X Dynamis Chaos, or at least all the finished chapters, on Global Comics recently. I mirror my stuff anywhere for the convenience of anybody who wants to read it. But this is probably my favorite place I've mirrored so far, because their reader allows you to read it in double page view, like reading the print versions of the comics. And for that, I actually added all of the extra bits that are in the print versions too, so it is like reading it. I highly recommend people to read X Dynamis Chaos there if they haven't already, or even if they just want to read it again, give me some views. And yeah, it's a fun place. It's just Global Comics with an X, because I guess everything's spelled better with an X. And in the meantime, if you like the show, please share it with somebody else who might like it. And if you really enjoy the show, consider supporting us at streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.